good evening, good morning. Welcome to Azure DevOps webinar. My name is Raman, and this webinar is conducted by Cognixia, Collabra, world's leading talent transformation company. So if we talk about Cognixia or Collabra, this is world's leading digital talent transformation. So we are the authorized training partner for Red Hat, Microsoft, ITL, Automation Anywhere, ISC, AWS. And so far, this is spread across all over world, and we are having around 150,000 professional trained worldwide. We are having 7,000 plus industry veterans as instructors, and the talent development in 55 plus countries. $800 million fully owned subsidiary of Collabra Group. We provide the excellent training for different platforms, different languages like machine learning and artificial intelligence, microservices in different programming languages like Java, Python, RPA, Internet of Things, big data analytics, DevOps, cloud computing, cybersecurity, professional development, and BI technology. So today we are going to discuss about one of the very demanding technology on DevOps point of view. It is not only for the DevOps engineer or the cloud solution architect or DevOps engineer. It is for everyone, I would say. So the process which is followed by the industry these days, it is the DevOps process, by which the software development lifecycle is totally automated. If we talk about the developer who is writing the code, so developer who is writing the code, he or she is pushing the code into some repository. So let me just try to explain here what it means when we talk about the software development life cycle. So first stage is that developer is writing the code. So developer is writing the code, and he wants to maintain the repository, the code which he is writing. For example, if you are a developer, you need some version control system where you can keep track of your different versions of your application. So developer is the part of software development lifecycle, and in the DevOps world, we can say he is the triggering point from where the DevOps process gets started, because the developer is the one who is writing the code and storing it into some repository. So this repository is very you can say it is used for various purposes. It is used for storing your documents. It is used to tracking your application code. It is used for the storing your different scripts. For example, if you are using Docker, if you are using Ansible, if you are using Azure Pipeline, right? So the scripts, you can keep it into this repository. But in today's session, we are going to use Azure DevOps repository to store our code. So developer is the one who is storing the code into the repository. Once the code is stored, and that code is in some programming language like .NET Core, Java, Python, and so on. So for each type of code, what you need to build it. Okay, so next job is to build the code. So building the code is basically you are creating the executable. You are publishing your code. For example, if I write a code into Java language, then jar file, var file, these are the executables. If you're writing the code into some ASP.NET Core, then the DLL and the exe which is published, or the set of files which get published, so that is the your build code. But the question is, who will build it? Is there any tool? Yes, there are a lot of tools are available, but in Azure we have the build tool. So with the help of this tool, we can publish our code. And publishing the code needs some platform. For example, if your code is in ASP.NET, if your code is in Python, if your code is into Java, right? So we need the respective compiler for that. And Azure supports very popular compilers in its DevOps build automation. Once the build is done, the next stage comes that you need to test the application. So this can be you have a test plan, and with the help of the test plan, you can test your application. Again, the CI/CD pipeline, which is provided by Azure DevOps, is basically supported by the test plan tool. With the help of that, we can test the application. Right. So when we talk about the testing, there are a lot of other things comes into the picture in a generic DevOps tools. So for example, when the testing finish, the developer needs the feedback. So that feedback is going back to the developer. So who is sending the feedback? The test plan, right? And if everything looks good, you can push that code into the production, right? And this is called deployment. So you are deploying the code. So whenever we are using the term deployment, it means move to production. So this is a overall picture of any DevOps life cycle, and it should be automatic. Automatic in the sense that it will be as soon as developer push the code into the repository, the rest of the thing should be executed automatically. Now this process you can build in any platform. If you are running your DevOps lifecycle on the data, on your own data center or on your company premises, means you are not using any cloud-based system, then you install some softwares like GitHub. You use Maven for the build automation. You use Selenium for the testing. You are using Ansible for the infrastructure as a code. You are using Docker for containerization, and you are using Kubernetes for container orchestration. When it comes to cloud computing like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, etc., so they have their own tools, which is very much matching to these generic tools. And with the help of those tools, we can set up the CI/CD environment into that cloud provided environment. Like in Azure, we are having a Azure DevOps. Okay, so if you search for Azure DevOps, so this is basically used for developing the CI/CD pipeline in Azure. All right, now let us first understand what is the meaning of CI. CI is continuous integration. What is continuous integration? Continuous integration is a process where developer push the code to the repository, and then that code is automatically built, automatically tested, and if feedback goes back to the development team. So that feedback is in the form of, mostly in the form of email. So this process is called continuous integration. And to develop this continuous integration, you can use different tools, which is called the CI/CD pipeline tools. If we talk about Azure, in Azure DevOps, we are having the pipeline tool, which can create a sequence of steps where your where it connects to the repository and it will build the code and deploy the code. Okay, so now let us talk more about Azure repos. So before coming to this, let us go to our Azure portal. So how you can go to this Azure portal? I'm already logged in. So if you want to go to the Azure portal, just search for Azure DevOps. Okay, and you will be having this website, Azure DevOps Services, and you just need to sign up over here, right? If you already have the account, you just need to sign. And Azure services, DevOps services are free of cost, but there are some limitations. Sometimes it is um, very frustrating because, like, if you want to build a pipeline, you need to get the approval for your project that this project should run the parallel pipeline. Okay, so there are a few things that probably we will discuss during our training session. But here, when you click on this start free, you will be creating the account into the DevOps, or you can start with your GitHub. So I'm already logged in here. Okay, so here what you can do, you can create an organization first. In that organization, you have to create your projects. So organization is something you can consider, that you are working for your organization or for your team, and you are working for a, say an example, .NET development team, and you want to create end-to-end solution in the Azure DevOps. Then what you need to do here in Azure DevOps organization, you want to create different accounts for different teams. For example, if I'm a developer, then there will be a different set of permissions for me. If I'm a DevOps engineer, then there are some different set of permissions for me. So that is beyond for today's talk, but that kind of authentications, that kind of authorization, active directories you can create it. Now, how to create the organization? So whenever you go to this Azure DevOps, right? So this is the okay. So this is the basically your page where you can see these are two organizations I have created. And when you click on this, so you are in this organization. If I click on this organization, right? So there are two projects. Okay, so I have two organizations, and if I want to create a new organization, I will just click over here. And this organization name should be unique globally. So this organization name, you have to decide as per your requirement. So what it is saying, that I would like information, tips, offers about the DevOps. If you want, then tick mark on this. Otherwise, click on next. Here it is suggesting you can create this name, but if you want to create some other name, you can create it. And which area you belong to, that you can select it over here, and you need to enter this captcha. So am I entering KRLQS6SPKB? I think I entered correctly. Hope so. Yeah. So it takes a little bit time to create the organization. Okay, so my organization get created, which is on the top, right? And now within the organization, you can create the projects. If we talk about the organization settings, you can come over here and you can create the settings. You can set up the settings. Okay, so this is the name and time zone, etc. These you can set it over here. And if you think that this organization you don't need it, then what you can do, you can just click on delete. So the organization get deleted, and all the projects within that organization will be deleted as well, right? Now here you can see the users, who are the users who belongs to this organization, right? And as of now, it is my account only. We have the billing. So as I mentioned, DevOps is not completely free of cost. Yes, that they are saying start free, but up to a certain limit, right? So after that, you need to set up your subscription, and with your subscription, the billing will basically get started. So here you can see that you can set up the billing. When you set up the billing, you need to select your subscription. So it will load the subscription, which subscription you want to use this. So when you create the Azure account, you are basically first time you logged in with the free trial account. Okay, so once that time limit is over, then you are basically you can use some subscription, some free services on Azure. And otherwise, if you have other subscription, which is the paid subscription, then you can select that one. Okay, and you can say that will be checked whether there is a balance in that, right? Whether it is fine for this DevOps billing or not. If it is, then it will highlight and it will say subscription is valid. You can use that subscription. In case if you want to create a new subscription, you can create a new subscription by clicking on this new Azure subscription, and you can go and check the usage of your service, right? So it will give you complete detailed uses by the users. Okay, and here you can see the Active Directory. So Active Directory is basically creating the users for DevOps. So if you want to connect with that, you can use this option. You can go to security, where you can see that there are some policies like application, which can connect to the Azure DevOps. These third party with the auth or with the SSH authentication. So either of option, both the options you can enable it. Security policy, allow the public projects. So this is off. So when you create a project in Azure DevOps, you cannot create the public project by default. If you make it, if you want to create a public project, then what you need to do, you need to turn on this option. Okay, and other, if you want to invite the GitHub users, so you need to turn on this policy. So these are some settings. So here you can see the projects. You can create a new project here. So for example, you already have the project and now you want to create a new project. So you can come over here and you can create the project. So if I want to create a project, I will click on this new project. Here, project basically indicates that in that project, I will create some repos, some build, right, some pipeline. So that is the purpose of that project. So here I'm defining the project name. So project name, see here I cannot select this public because of that option is disabled. So we set up that in the policies, and policies are organization wise. Some settings you will see project wise, some settings you can apply it on the organization level. So let us first create the project. If I say my project, so this is my project, right? You can give any name, or you can say this is uh, ASP net project. Okay, here you can put the description. Okay, any description, this is optional, but I'm putting this as MVC project. Okay, then you are selecting public or private repository. I'm creating private, advanced. So in the advanced, actually there are different work items. So you can create different types of projects like agile based, basic, CMMI, or Scrum based. So these are different processes. Whichever project you type you are selecting, according to that, you will see the options in your work items, right? So I'm selecting default, basic, and version control system. There is a team foundation version control system and Git. So Git is very popular, right? So we'll select the Git only. Okay, so you can see ASP net project gets created, right? So you can click on this and you can go to this project. Okay, so this project get created. Now here you can click on this and you can see the project level settings, right? So this is the project level settings. These are the services which is provided by the Azure DevOps. You can create the boards, you can create the repos. Repos is repositories. Board is something like your Jira application, right, where you can track different work items, issues, to-do list, etc. In the repos, you are basically storing your code, your repositories, and in the pipeline, you are creating a CI/CD pipeline. In test plan, you can structure the testing at any scale for the team of all size. And the artifacts is basically used for some packages like npm modules, right, maven universals, or Python packages. So you can use continuous delivery with these artifacts. Okay, so we are on the overview page. You can check what are the different team members, what are the different team. If you want, you can create a new team also. You can set up the permissions. What are the different types of permissions we can provide to this project, right? And so on. Okay, so we will go back to our project only. So this project is at this moment, it is empty. There is no item, there is nothing inside it. Okay, so you can invite the users by clicking on this invite button, right? So you can find the users on Azure DevOps and they can also work as a contributors, right? So here on the left hand side, you see all that option which I just discussed with you, right? So let us go to the repos. So this is the repository part. If you are familiar with any version control system like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, subversion control system, it is very much similar to that. If you are familiar with AWS DevOps, code commit is the service, right? So here we this mostly used for pushing your code which you want to track. And because we have selected the version control system Git, so it is Git based. And you can see here, clone to your computer or push an existing from the command line. So I don't want to clone because there is nothing inside it as of now. What I will do, I will create a project on my local system and I will push that project into this repository. So how to do that? So for that, you need, I'm creating a ASP.NET Core project, but we are not limited to that. You can create Python project, Java project. There are a lot of languages which is supported by the build or pipeline. So, but I'm going to show you the demo in the ASP.NET Core project. ASP.NET Core is a open source platform by Microsoft. And with the help of that, what you can do, you can develop the web API microservices, model view controller MVC kind of applications, not kind of MVC applications, right? You can create the applications in Microsoft platform. So in Microsoft is basically earlier, if we talk about the .NET framework, which is a separate framework, right? So that is a paid one. And if you are using the Microsoft .NET framework, then there are a lot of limitations for a open source developer point of view. You cannot deploy it onto the Linux server, Mac operating system. So .NET framework was earlier, it is, or now itself, it is for the Windows based platform. Whereas if we see other programming languages like Java, Python, or others, right? So these all are the platform independent. So Microsoft has initiated, and now this ASP.NET Core, it is platform independent. Means you can develop the application in uh, any platform. Means you just need to install Visual Studio Code. Okay, if you want to get expertise into ASP.NET Core, just install Visual Studio Code, or you can use Visual Studio itself, and you can write your .NET Core application. How do you know that .NET is installed or not? So actually, if you go to the Microsoft website, you can install .NET Core, and you can say SDK 5 or more than, now it is 6 actually, and you say download. So you can download this .NET 5.0, or if you want to download the later version. So now you can see it is supporting Linux, Mac operating system, Windows, right? So you can download the appropriate installer for that and install it on your system. Installation is very straightforward. There is no complexity. And if you are using Visual Studio 2019 on Mac, so these Visual Studios are supporting this version of the .NET Core. So you can write the code. Okay, so other thing is related to the ASP.NET Core. This is mostly done by the developer. If you are a DevOps engineer, you are not writing the code. You are supporting, or you are publishing that code into the production, right? So you as a DevOps engineer, you are not writing the code. Writing the code is the job of development team. All right, so I have already downloaded this. Now let us see that uh, once you install it, how do you know that this particular .NET Core is basically installed or not? You can go to your command prompt. I'm using Windows platform, and here you can run the .NET and -- version. So you can see I'm using .NET Core version 5, 5.03. Okay, so the .NET 5.0.3 version is installed on my machine. So .NET Core provides some commands. With the help of that, you can create the projects. Okay, so for example, if I want to create a project in MVC type project, then we will do one thing. We will create a directory. If I say cd/, and if I create a directory here, say ASP.NET Core project, okay, or you can give the same project name as we had given in the DevOps. The project name we had given ASP.NET project, right? So ASP.NET project, we'll call it. It's not necessary you need to give the same name, but it's a good practice. So I will go to this ASP.NET project, and I will say .NET and new, and you will what type of application you want to create. So there are different options are available. You want to create the API, you want to create MVC. Okay, so you can create. So again, as I mentioned, as a DevOps engineer, you just need to know how to publish the code, how they have created. This is mostly related to the development team. So I'm creating an MVC project. Okay, project get created. Okay, and if I say, so these are the files and folders which get created. Right now, this file and these files and folders, right? So these files and folders, I want to push it into my repository. Which repository? Azure repository. Now, if I go to Azure repository, here we are using Git. So first of all, Git is to be installed. So how do you install Git on your system? You can go to the Git SCM download, and you are installing for Mac operating system, Windows, Linux, whichever operating system you are using, you can use that operating system and install it, right? So I have already installed. So how do you know Git is installed? You can run the command git -- version, and you can see this is my latest version, which is same 2.335.1, right? So now if we talk about Git, so Git is used for the local repository, and for remote repository, if you are not using Azure repository, you can use GitHub, you can use GitLab, you can use uh, other repositories also, right? So which is available on the cloud system. So here there are some commands which I'm not going to discuss much. So these commands are like git init. So I'm initializing the directory, and git add, which is basically moving these files into the stage area. So if I say -a, so it is pushing all the files into the stage area. So if I say git status, so it will show these files are basically which is moved to the stage area. There is a file which is called gitignore file. If you put some files which you don't want to push it into the remote repository, you can mention those files here. And those files will, if you think that there is a binary file, there is a exe file, there is uh, some library files, which is not a project, which is a uh, just executable files, you don't want to push it into the remote repository, then you can use .git ignore file, and you can add those entries over there. Okay, so now I will run the git commit command, git commit -m, and I will say MVC project, or you can say ASP.NET project for MVC team. Okay, so this is committed. Now, if I say git status, so you can see nothing to commit, right? Now I want to push this code into my Azure repository. So if I go over here, let me close this window, not required. This is also not required. So let me go over here. So push an existing repository from the command line. That is what we are going to do. You can push by using HTTPS, or you can create a SSH. You can create the SSH key. Okay, so SSH is the secure shell. With the help of that, also you can push these files into your remote repository. So I'm using HTTPS method. So these are the steps. Let me just note it down into a notepad file. Okay, I'm copy pasting here. And if I maximize it, it is something like this. So I need to run this command first, which is basically adding the remote repository reference into my local configuration file. So let us run this command. Okay, and I will go to my, and this repository where it is added, if you see cat.git/config config file. Sorry, this is not Linux. I think there is a command which is type command. Okay, so I need to go to the folder. So I will go to C, and I will go to ASP.NET project. Okay, so this is the local repository, right? Here you can see the config file. So if I open this config file with Notepad, right? So here you can see this is the remote login references added. You can reset it, or this is the configuration file for my Git local repository. So you can change this URL if you want to refer to some other repository. Okay, so this is my config file, okay, which is available under .git directory. Okay, I'm closing this as well. Okay, so this line is added. Now next step is git push -u origin all. So this command will push the origin directory to the remote. Okay, so I will just say run this command. So these commands, these are provided by the Azure DevOps. So once it is you are pushing it, right? Because you are pushing the data, it means you should have a you should be the authenticated user. So that is why it is asking the sign in. So you can enter your email address. Okay, click on next. Okay, so actually there are some credentials which is you can store on the Windows credential level. Okay, so now you can see this this repository is pushed to my Azure repository, and it has created a new branch which is a master branch. So let us confirm that. I will go here and I will refresh this page, and you can see my code is pushed to the remote repository, right? So this way you can push your code into the remote repository. Means the code which you are working tomorrow, if you make some changes into your code, again you need to uh, follow the same process. No need to add the remote repository again. You just need to push the change into the Azure repos. Okay, so this is the repos, and if I go back to my slide which I was talking about, so Azure repos is a set of version control tools that you can use to manage your code. This is logo of Azure repos, and what this Azure repos basically indicates, there are different branches, and ultimately these branches are merged to a single or main or master branch. Version control system are software that helps you to track the changes you make in your code over the time. If you are familiar with any GitHub or any version control system, this is very much similar to that. You can see your commits, you can see different releases into your repos. As you edit your code, you tell the version control system to take a snapshot of your files. Right? So we have created this repo. Now, next is the build process. So when we talk about Azure Pipeline, in the beginning of this session, I mentioned that there is a process. That process is basically your CI/CD process. In CI/CD process, as soon as developer push the code into the repository, next step is that the code is to be built. So Azure Pipeline automatically builds and tests the code projects to make them available to others. It works with just any language or project. So what I'm doing, I'm using ASP.NET Core, but there are all the languages almost supported by the Azure build process. Azure Pipeline combines the continuous integration and continuous delivery to test and build your code and ship to any target. Right? So this is the build process. Now let us talk about the pipeline. So here you can see there is a pipeline, right? And now to set up the build from your repo, you can directly set up it from here from your repository. So if you think this is the project which I need to set up on my setup for my build process, then you can click over here, okay, or you can go to your pipeline, right, and you can say create pipeline. So from here also you can set up your repos, right, and you can select your project, right. So if you set up your project and it will show the similar kind of options. So if I say setup build, okay, see, same page it came. So you can configure your pipeline. So there are some basic pipelines if you want to use starter pipeline or the existing Azure pipeline by using YAML. You can select this, but I'm clicking on this show more option. In show more option, you will see what are the different applications which you can programming languages which you can use for your configuring your build process. I'm using ASP.NET .NET. So ASP.NET is different and ASP.NET Core is different. Okay, so I'm selecting this ASP.NET Core. Okay, so when you select, it is creating such means such type of YAML file. So there are a couple of ways to create the pipeline. One way is the classic editor, and second way is by using this YAML file. So this YAML file is basically tells you that uh, this is the process, this is the default values, you can say, or default YAML file. If you want to modify, you can modify it. So what it is saying that ASP.NET Core, and here this is the trigger branch. So my triggering branch is master branch, means if there is any change happen into the master branch, then the build will be triggered. Okay, so trigger is build, trigger is master branch, and pool. Pool is nothing but this is the these are basically collection of machines, agents, which you want to set up for your build process. So what it is mentioning here, virtual image Ubuntu latest. So this ASP.NET Core will be used, it will use this particular virtual machine Ubuntu latest to build your code, right? So then some variable script and .NET build command. Actually, .NET build command is used to build your project. So it will say that .NET build -- configuration build configuration, and this is the display name. So if you say, you can save and run it here. So once you say save and run, this particular code will be executed, right? So if I say save and run, so it is saying what is your commit message. So I'm saying this is set up with the Azure pipeline, right? And I'll say save and run. So again, as I mentioned, so now it is creating the pipeline. So now the job is getting executed. So if you see, so most of the time you will means initially you will find this type of error. Actually, what you need to do, if I copy this message, okay, and if I put it into my notepad, so let us see what this message is saying. So no hosted parallelism has been purchased or granted. To request free parallelism, you need to grant, fill out the following form. So you need to fill up this form. You need to go to this website. There is a request form. You need to fill it up and send it to Microsoft. Means when you say submit, it will automatically submit to the Microsoft. It will ask your organization name. It will ask your project name, and then it should be automatically within 2 to 3 days. It will be automatically. They will uh, they will give the access for the hosted agents, right? Shared hosted agent. So if I go back to, so this is the way we are creating. So now let us go and go to our another project, actually, where this permission is already given. So if I go back to my ASP.NET Azure, right? So here I'm selecting my main organization. So this is my first project. Same stuff I have done, which I have done earlier, right? And here you can see that if I go to my pipeline, right? So these pipelines got executed. One pipeline got executed 10 hours ago. This project got executed. So here in the repos, it is the same set of files, right? And in the pipeline, I have the same code. So now if if I go to this project, right? So this project, if you want to run again, so just a minute. So you can see this was succeeded, right? So these jobs were succeeded. Now I'm running a pipeline. Okay, run new. Okay, from the master branch, yes, run. So now this is for my first project, right? And now here, so far there is no that type of error because I already have the permission, right? So you can see this job is getting executed, right? It takes little bit time, right, to build your project. Okay, so there is a question from Atul. Yes, this file is automatically get generated. You can uh, change it. Okay, so okay, also you will get the email, right? Not yet, it came to me. Okay, so it came. Okay, so this is the ASP.NET project. So it is saying it is failed. So whatever the execution happens, whether it is failed or passed, so you will get the email notification. Okay, so this is the YAML file part which I have just shown to you. As I mentioned, it will take little bit time, right? So it is still running. Okay, so this job is running, let it run. Now there is another way you can set up the host. You can set up the host on your Windows, on your Linux. So for example, you want to set the host agent, you want to host the agent on your own machine. Then you can use the self agent. Okay, so for example, you want to run this job on your local system, right? So then you are using the agent pools. So let us see how to use the self host management. So before coming over there, let us go back to our slide. And pipeline, Azure Pipeline is a cloud service that we can use to build, test our code automatically. The Azure Pipeline has a lot of capabilities such as continuous integration, continuous delivery to regularly and consistently test, build our code and ship it to the any target. So basically, if we talk about, if you are a engineer, software engineer or developer who is writing the code in some Visual Studio Code or maybe some other editor, you push your code into the Azure repos, then Azure test plans get executed, Azure pipeline, right? And then you are hosting that application or deploying anywhere, means you can deploy anywhere. You can deploy it on Azure Web Apps also, right? So then we are having the application inside, and then you can check the Azure boards, right? So now Azure hosted zone. Microsoft hosted zones can run the jobs directly on the VM or in a container. Pipelines provides the predefined agent pool named Azure Pipeline with the Microsoft hosted agent. So what it means? So if you go to over here, right? So you can see here pipeline agent pools. Okay, so here you can see this job is running here, Azure Pipeline agent pool. So this particular environment, or the environment where my application can run, it is provided by Microsoft on that Azure DevOps Cloud. So if you are using this, it means your application is running on the Azure environment. But if you want to change, you can create a new pool. Since, for example, you want that your application should run on your local system. Then if the application pipeline you want to execute it on your local system, then you need to download and install a self-hosted agent. Okay, so before coming to self-hosted agent, let us go back here. So Microsoft hosted agent can run jobs directly on the virtual machine. So virtual machine which we have selected, right, the Ubuntu latest, or in a container. Pipeline provides predefined agent pools named Azure Pipelines with Microsoft hosted agent. You can also self-host the agent. Now let us see how to self-host the agent. So again, if you go back here and search for Azure agent, right? Azure agent download. So you need to download the agent on your local machine first. Okay, so for that, you need to go to the Azure website to download that agent. Okay, so you can come over here. Okay, so here Azure self-hosted agent download. Okay, okay, so this is Azure Pipe deploy Azure agent on Windows. Yes, this one. So here, what it is saying, if you are using Windows, check the prerequisites. What are the prerequisites? Make sure your machine has these prerequisites. It should be Windows 7, 8.1 or 10, or later version 11 is also fine. If you are using server, then minimum requirement is 2008 R2. Okay, PowerShell 3.0 and .NET Framework 4.6.2. So I have 5.0, right? So all these are fine for me. Recommended Visual Studio Build Tools 2015 or later. So this is recommended. For our today's lecture point of view, it is not required, right? And this is the hardware specification, right? And we need to have the personal authentication token also. Okay, and okay, and now these are the Azure Pipeline agents. So you can download it for Windows. You can download it for Mac operating system, Linux agent, Docker agent, which agent you want to install. So I want to install this Windows agent. So I have already downloaded it. It will be a zip file. Okay, it will be a zip file. So if you see here on my downloads, I have already downloaded this agent. Okay, so which is little bit big, so I have downloaded earlier. Now this agent, I need to host it, I need to run it on my local system. Okay, so what are the instructions to run this particular agent on the local system? So here, what I'll do, I will go to my repo. So first thing what you need to do, you need to create a personal token. click on this user settings, and here you can see personal access token. And this token is created one time. So I have created some of the tokens, and on the that token is a very big number. It's a you can say it's an encrypted number. So which is combination of number, alphabets, some special characters, right? And that is also uh, that token indicates the identity of your account. So you should not share that token with anyone. But how to create that token? To create the token, you need to click on new token, and you need to give the token name. So for example, if I say I want to create token 1, okay, and for which organization you want. So this is my organization, and you want some custom access, means for work items, backlog, read access, write access. If you, for this demo purpose, I'm giving the full access. Okay, so I want to give the full access to this token. It can create, build, right? So it has the full access to my pipeline and the other DevOps tools. Okay, so then I will click on create. So I have already created, and as I mentioned, you should not share this token to anyone. This will be indicating your identity, right? So this is one step. Now next step is basically you will go back to your agent pool, and you need to create a pool. And here you can uh, create the pool which is for the Azure virtual machine setup or for your self-hosted zone. So I want to use it for the self-hosted zone. Okay, so then I will say self-hosted zone. Here you can give that agent uh, name, agent pool name. So I will say my PC, or you can give any name, right? Does not matter. Give some description and then create. So this get created. Okay, so this get created, and here if I select that particular agent pool, now here you can add a new agent. So click on new agent. Now it is saying configure your agent. So you can download it from here as well, right? That agent, we went to that website, right? You can download it from here. Now it is saying you have to run these commands. So let me just copy this and put it into my notepad. Okay, so these commands, and then this command to configure an agent. Okay, and then we need to run at the end this command to run the agent interactively. Okay, so what it is doing basically, it is saying create a directory agent and go to that directory. So I have, again, because of the time shortage, I have already created that directory. If I go to I will go to PowerShell. That will be a better option. PowerShell, I have opened it. Okay, I did not open. Let me open PowerShell. Okay, so I will say PowerShell. Okay, run as administrator. Okay, PowerShell is open. So let it open. And now I will go to the C drive, and it is saying create agent directory. I already created. Okay, so I'm in the agent directory. So these are the two commands. First, so this command executed. Now this command is basically, it is extracting your that zip file into your current directory. Okay, you can right click, you can go to that zip file and extract it and copy it into the agent folder. That is also fine. But here they had given the PowerShell command. Once it is done, you can see these are the set of files which get extracted. Okay, so here you can see the configure cmd command and the run cmd command. When you run this command, configs.cmd command, this file is basically ask some questions. What are the questions? It will ask the URL. So what will be the URL you need to give? You need to give the URL of your repository. So what is my repository URL? It is up till here. So you can copy this and give this URL. Okay, so this is, sorry, organization URL you need to give. So once, second question, it will ask the personal access token, PAT. Okay, so the token which you have created, that big value, you need to copy paste it here. Okay, and it will ask some more questions. You can go with the default options. Okay, so once it is done, then your agent is configured. Now it will be ready for running the jobs, or hosting the jobs which is running in your Azure DevOps. Now let us see how to do that. So now here you need to, if you want to run, you can run this command, right? .run cmd command. So let us run this, run.cmd. Okay, so it is scanning the tools capability and connecting to my server, and it is listening for the jobs. If there is any job which is referred to that the agent which I have defined. So for your kind information, I have used this agent, but I have already created my other agent here, which is the Raman PC. Okay, so this is basically configured it on my PowerShell self-hosted agent. So what I will do, I will go to my first project again. Okay, and pipelines. Okay, and let me just go to my inbox, refresh this. Okay, not yet. So it is taking time. Okay, so I will create a new pipeline. Okay, I'm going to use the Azure repository, and I will use the first project repository. Okay, and I'm going to use the ASP.NET Core. Just 1 second. So show more. Actually, it is hidden down here for me. So if you come down here, okay. Okay, so here so if I go back to my pipeline, and if I say new pipeline, right, and down here you can see the classic editor. Okay, so I'm selecting, this is the other way to create your pipeline. Okay, now here I'm going to use my Git repository for the project, first project. Repository name also I had given the first project. And which branch you want to use? I want to use this branch. Right? Click on continue. After that, it is asking what will be your language which you are using. ASP.NET Core. Right? Apply. Now here it is saying this pipeline will be created. Okay, and these are the different These are the different phases which will be executed. And here I'm saying Azure Pipeline. So if you select this Azure Pipeline, you are using the Azure hosted agent. But I don't want to use this one. I want to use my Raman PC, that agent pool. Okay. So yes, this I want to configure. After that, you need to use this option, which is save and queue. Okay, save and queue. You can give some comment. Okay, so I'll say self-hosted, and my agent pool is Raman PC. That is correct. And if you want to select some other things, which is variable or this, you can select it. So for me, it is fine. And I'll say save and run. Now this job is running. So let me go back here. So let us see whether this listens. See, it is listening that job. So running agent job one, right? And once it is finished, then it will. And here also you can see it is started, one consumed, and the state will be changed once this execute my project completely. Now you can see job agent, job one completed and result is succeeded. So it means that project is executed successfully on my self-hosted agent. Okay, and down here you can see that uh, one published, one consumed, right? So, and my job got executed successfully. Okay, so that is all about this demo. Thank you very much for attending this session. Bye bye, all the best.